just like, we hear people, Mark, say, I want to go find myself. I got to find out who I am. That's a bad idea because you're going to find something that you're probably not going to like. I would much rather design who you want to be. I want to switch that conversation to intentionality. Who do you want to become? What characteristics do you see in other people that you're not strong in? Develop that. When you're confident in who you are, you feel fulfilled. You feel purposeful.
So, hey, Jamie, how you doing?
Hey, man. How you doing, Mark? I'm really good.
Good. So I was having a conversation with someone today, and I found it interesting. It made me reflect a little bit. I have a few people who write articles for Take 2 Minutes, and one had written an article about suicide, and it was an interesting perspective about different types of suicidal thoughts is what it was really about. And I questioned her. I said, with this article, should we have something in there about if you're having thoughts, reach out? And her perspective was that an article that's informational isn't necessarily taking responsibility for someone's thoughts. It's just giving information. She goes, and if you have that number in there, and she was talking from a first person, I guess, who's experienced it. She goes, I don't know what that's going to provide. She goes, I don't know if having that number is going to make someone, I should call this. She goes, I've called the numbers before, and I don't even know if it really even helps anything. And so I started thinking that whole thing about what helps someone, because it is such an interesting topic, because there's no one thing that helps everyone, obviously. And so, this is a long intro, I'm sorry, but I started thinking more about other life events that I've had in the recent times, and even conversations with people I've had because of Take 2 Minutes, that I've been engaged with other individuals talking about challenges in life. And I'm saying all this without me being a counselor or a therapist. This is, information for you to give a good response to more than anything, because I don't have the knowledge. But what I realized is, how much does purpose in life help someone who is having any type of negative thoughts? And the question really comes down to, even more so than purpose, someone can't tell you your purpose in life. You have to figure out your purpose. So let me give you an example. If someone is having suicidal, is obviously the worst, but even just negative, or what am I doing with my life? Thoughts about why am I living? I'm curious if that person found a purpose. And again, that's easier said than done, but if they found a purpose, if that would help them curb some of those thoughts they're having. And again, finding a purpose is a tough thing to suggest on how to do. But and I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to give you a chance to respond to all that.
So there's a lot of writing on this. Okay. Viktor Frankl, are you familiar with him?
I'm not.
German Jew. He was alive during World War II, right? And he got rounded up in World War II. He's a psychologist, okay? He got rounded up and spent a majority of World War II at Auschwitz.
Okay.
As a psychologist, right?
Oh.
So he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. So he's a prisoner watching people die and struggling with his own mortality, if you will. And he survived. He got to the point where he could predict within 2 days when someone was going to die.
Oh, wow.
Because they gave up purpose for their life. They gave up meaning on what they're doing.
Okay.
Right? So purpose is very important.
Very important.
I've heard it said that the two most important days of your life are the day that you're born, and then the day you figure out why.
Okay, I can buy that.
Right?
Yeah.
So now here's what's really interesting about that, though. I didn't really, we're going to say discover, but I don't know if find is the right way to think about it. But I didn't really discover my purpose until 2009.
Okay.
Is when I really figured it out, right?
So say roughly 40 years it took, roughly.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Because I was really good at construction. I was really good at management, sales management. So you can be good at something and that not be fulfilling. So I like to think about purpose and fulfillment.
Yeah.
Somewhat hand in hand.
Yes.
Right? And what I focus on with my clients and really in my life, and what I really learned to understand, is fulfillment is where it's at. Like living a life that's fulfilled, right?
Yes.
Now we can choose, kind of like we choose joy, we can choose happiness. We can find, discover, and make life events fulfilling for ourselves, right? But it took me a while to land on it. So, I think I knew I was around it when I went through landmark education and kind of started doing a little life coaching, business coaching type stuff. I'm like, man, this feels okay. This feels like I'm in the vicinity, right? Like I really just kind of started landing on that, right? And that was really pretty cool. It was neat to be in that space. And as I was in that space, what I started discovering is that I need to do more of this, but how do I do it? And what does that look like? So I kept plugging away with what I like the best I knew, right? And then the shooting happened at my church, and I was kind of thrust in, if you will, into a grief counseling situation, right? And then after that, I kind of worked for the church a little bit and started doing some therapy there. Even though I had a bachelor's degree, if you work for the church, it's okay, right? So it was more of a pastoral care type situation. And as I was doing that, it really fit. Come home, my wife's like, hey, you seem like you're really happy. I'm like, yeah, this is what I was made to do.
That's good.
So I think helping someone have hope that they will find it. You always land on it. You always land on it. It might be when you're 22, or it might be when you're 60. When did Colonel Sanders found KFC?
Yeah, he was in his 60s, I believe. Wasn't
like
he?
64, 67, like somewhere in that area, right?
Right.
And that's, you can have your opinions about KFC, but like it's a successful franchise no matter how you shake it out, right?
Yes.
He didn't land on that until he was in his 60s.
So it can definitely take some time. And I think church is an interesting topic. I don't want to sway either way on this. I know with a lot of younger generations, there are more people who are not as church going, but I've also, what I'm getting at is I have come across a lot of people who do find purpose in church somehow. And that could be even just giving services like you did to the church. I knew someone who was struggling a lot, and he started attending a church, and he really just helped the church. He helped by facilitating, the starting of mass, getting people set up, helping people in and out, and that gave him fulfillment. And again, I think for the people who don't believe in church, which again, nothing's wrong with that. You have to find something though that will help you with that fulfillment to make you feel like you're doing something for the betterment of life or for yourself in your life.
Well, I'll tell you. So something really interesting about that. There's a lot of research that shows about volunteering and how important volunteering is.
Yes, that's the key.
If I ever have a client who's depressed, upset, like that kind of like really in a funk, see, when you're in a funk, when you're in that depressive state, when you're in that like, man, what am I doing? Why am I even here? Right? When you're landing there, it's all about you. What about me? What am I doing? What do I got to do? I'm broken. There's something wrong, right? You got to get the focus on others.
Yes.
Right? When you get the focus on others, you ever help anybody, Mark?
Well, yeah, that's what I say. You hit the nail on the head there when you said volunteering. It's not so much about church, and you're completely right. I think I misspoke that whole sentence. It's about volunteering. And because, we'll use Take 2 Minutes for a good example. A lot of people who hopefully are going to watch this don't know this, that I've never made a dime off of Take 2 Minutes. Take 2 Minutes has cost me basically a house to keep running, but I get a lot of fulfillment out of it because it is helping people, and I see it helping people. Yes, it's working. It's helping people. And that is where I'm getting fulfillment in my life, seeing Take 2 Minutes help people.
I think when you start volunteering, Well, here, so we can kind of tie it together, even with your comment about church, right? I think where fulfillment really comes from is when we feel like we are a part of something bigger.
Yes.
Right? Whether that's church, whether that's just community.
Right.
You know, that's why people go to groups, right? Because they can associate and they feel like, man, I'm a part of something here. And then as that even keeps going, I'm a part of something special here. I'm a part of something big here. Not even your role, but as even just look at, like, you know, people cheering for a sports team. My team.
You're a part of something there. Yeah.
You're a part of something bigger.
Yes.
Right? So there's a lot to be said about involvement. You know, so when I think it's important to give people resources, Mark. You know, so I think that if I'm writing that article myself, and this is not to talk like we're not talking down about what her choice was or what her vision was.
Right.
But I always think that just having those resources is a valuable step, right? There's a national suicide text messaging, 741-741.
Yeah, crisis hotline, I believe it's called. It's on the Take 2 Minute site. Yeah.
But you can text that stinker. You can call the 800 number. There's a new mental health emergency line. It's not 911. It's like, well, I don't even.
988 now.
988, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it's part of SAMHSA, SAMHSA, the government's.
Yeah,
site, yeah.
right. So there, I think having all those resources, a lot of people don't even understand what's available to them, right?
Right.
And here's the thing. If you're suicidal, what are you really thinking? You're thinking, no one would even miss me. The world would be better off without me. So you text someone or you call someone and you find out, even though they don't know you, they care about you.
Right.
And they
Very important.
do want you around. Right? And then that one conversation can lead to other things and change your life.
Yes.
Right? So yeah, I think fulfillment is important. I think purpose is important. You know, we were talking earlier about like finding your purpose. I don't know that you can do that intentionally.
I think it would be tough too.
You know, I think it's more of a try it on, almost like Cinderella's shoe.
Yep.
Try it on. That doesn't fit. That's too big. That's too small. Right? Like I think that's more how you stumble or land on that. Right? Just like, you know, we hear people, Mark, say, I want to go find myself. I got to find out who I am. That's a bad idea because you're going to find something that you're probably not going to like. Right? I would much rather design who you want to be.
Very good.
I want to switch that conversation to intentionality. Who do you want to become? What characteristics do you see in other people that you know you're not strong in? Develop that.
Right. That's
now we got a plan, right?
Yeah.
We got a plan. Because, see, again, when you're confident in who you are, you feel fulfilled. You feel purposeful. So I think
completely agree with that. Yes.
I think those things go really hand in hand, very parallel to one another. So as you're sitting in your upset, let's call it, as you're sitting in your upset, wondering who would miss me, what am I doing here? What is this all for? As you're sitting in that, see, you're asking the wrong questions, right? Who am I? Who do I want to become? How do I get there? I think those are a little bit better questions to ask.
Absolutely.
You know, you really want to find out something about yourself. Now, look, you got to be honest. He said, scoot to the end of your bed, put your feet on the floor, and ask yourself, what am I doing to really screw my life up? Now, if you're honest with yourself, there's going to be a lot of valuable information come at you.
Sure.
Right? In my book, I talk about that in a different way. I call it the victim mindsets, but on the book, I think about them. I say the illusions that are stopping you from living your life intentionally, right? We got to live life intentionally. See, if we're not living life intentionally, life is living us. We're reacting to everything. That doesn't feel good. That's like a bottle floating in the ocean, just going every which way with no control, right?
But it's easy to get there for a lot of people, I would think.
We do it so fast.
Yeah.
We do it so fast, right? So the reason I call them illusions is because we don't even realize that we're playing the victim.
Right.
And that doesn't make you feel good. That makes you feel powerless. When we step out of those victim mindsets, boy, that's when we become powerful because we know who we are. Now we got a reason to live. And there's plenty of reasons to live, but that's a pretty good one too.
Yes. Yes. So I think you stated it very well. It's finding a purpose for yourself, which would help you get out of a funk, possibly. Yeah. And that's something that just takes some trial to find your purpose. It's not something that someone else can tell you or you can necessarily quickly find. It does take effort.
Yeah. And you know, I think another thing about that I think is just important to remember, you know, life is not a competition against other people because everyone has a different purpose.
Yes.
There are people that were made to be garbage men, and they're the best garbage men out there. There are people made to be surgeons. There are people made to be moms, to be dads, right? You were made for a purpose. As you step into that and live yourself, right, you're going to figure that out. Man, that's your competition is you from yesterday.
Yes.
That's it. Right? So we tend to be hard on ourselves, you know, because, well, man, my brother, he's 5 years younger than me and he's got the new house and the wife and they're getting ready to have a baby and they just bought a boat. He's living his best life and here I am struggling. Dude, that's not your purpose yet.
Right. Very true.
So your competition isn't him. Your competition is, so if you're just a little bit better every day, because that's where, you know, the other people, another thing that, and we got to wrap up, I know, another thing that we really tend to do is that we look at being in a funk, and let's say we feel like we're in a hole that's 10 foot deep, right? I can't jump out of a 10-foot hole. Well, can you get out of a 9.5-foot hole? No. Okay, what about a 9-foot, right? It's little incremental steps. Again, I just got to be better today than I was yesterday. If I do that, I'm working myself out of that hole. And eventually, now I'm at the top. Now I can do more to get out of that hole. I'm on a journey right now of weight loss.
Yes.
I got to lose over 100 pounds. Now, if you think about losing 100 pounds, dude, that's a lot of weight.
It would seem daunting at first, right?
Overwhelming, right? Like, I can't, I can't do that. Oh my gosh. Right. Every day, make the right choice. Every meal, make the right choice. And if I screw up, which, you know, Thanksgiving, I indulged a little bit. That's fine. Okay, I just got to do better next meal. And next meal, I did better. And the next meal, I did it, right? And then you just do better. Every little piece.
I'm going to give you one more analogy on that one. I'm not in great shape as far as physical shape. I walk a lot, but I realize I don't have probably the strength I would like to have to help with feeling more confident about myself. So I started working out, and that's the same thing. My son, who works out a lot, great shape. He bench presses, I don't know, 300 pounds, whatever else.
Yeah.
I started off with like 45 pounds, right? And after the 3 sets of 10, I was like in pain. But I started somewhere, and it's building up from that is what it comes down to. It's incremental improvements over weeks, not even necessarily days, that you start seeing. Yeah.
And I'll tell you something about that too. People really get stuck. People who were in shape at one time, I'm going to tell you how I used to be really great shape. But When
Yeah.
I was in the Navy, man, I was fit as a fiddle. You know, I could run 1.5 miles in 9 minutes. That's moving,
Yeah.
you know? When I think about what I can and can't do today, I get stuck. Yeah, that's the word. I get stuck in why bother going to the gym if I can't lift what I've always lifted?
Right.
Because now you feel like a failure and you feel bad about yourself and you're reminded of how far you've come.
Right.
Right? But, dude, show up,
Yes.
get up, do the work, and you'll be there. Right? So,
Yeah.
Mark,
Good.
I hope this was helpful, man.
Yeah. Good stuff. I appreciate the conversation.
Thanks for listening. I hope you found that discussion helpful and interesting. If there are any topics you would like to hear discussed, head over to take2minutes.org and use the Contact Us form to submit your suggestions. Also, if you appreciate our content, sign up for an account at take2minutes.org. Subscriptions help us to continue generating new content. Thanks again.